Hey, what's up, everybody? Daddy Dave, Street Outlaws. Yo, what's up, everybody? We're gonna do a walk around with this old car today. It's been in the build for a while. I have dropped pictures or videos in the past of it, just hinting at it and letting everybody know that it was getting built. We didn't have a lot of time this year because of MPK and just filming the 405 show and the mega cash days that we all did. So I had some other people do some work on it, and we're gonna hit all those key people during the walk around. But let me start off by saying this is my 11th car, my 11th Monte Carlo. So I'm familiar with them. I used to race it back in the day, and when I first came to Oklahoma, I was in a 80 Monte Carlo, and it wasn't very long after that we found a couple SS's, and throughout the years I've had several of them down here. So most everybody in Oklahoma City and around Oklahoma City knows me for my long hair and a Monte Carlo. So this thing, I love these cars. They're big. They're not as heavy as what everybody thinks they are. They're comfortable, and I actually, my 80 Monte Carlo, I drove it from New York all the way down here to Oklahoma. So I really like the cars. They're pretty cool. And when they're done right and painted up good, it's a beautiful car. And no, I did not copy Doc, or this thing has been in the works for a while. Back when Doc built his car, I actually had the same one up in my shop in Edmond. But either way, it don't matter. Like, Doc's car's fast. It's ProCharged. It's basically they're twins, pretty much, other than his is maroon and mine's white. You know, LS motor, ProCharged, 9-inch, all the badass suspension stuff that we're going to look at here in just a minute. But I went down to Keith's, Casey's chassis shop. Keith did a lot of work on it to finish it up, and did an amazing job. Clayton from Chassis and Engineering down in Florida, he's actually the one that did the cage, the mini tub, moving the frame in, front suspension, and some other things on it. And I've known Clayton for a while, and does amazing work, outstanding. When I went and got the car, I didn't have time to finish it, or couldn't finish it because we were so busy. And the car sat in the shop for a while I gathered up parts. When I had enough parts, I called Keith down at Casey's and said, hey, look, this is what I got, this is what I need done, this is my end goal with the car. So Keith and his boys, his son works there, and he's got another employee there. The guys are amazing. Everything I wanted, everything I talked about, everything, the end goal with the car, they nailed it. I'm extremely happy with it. We picked it up the other day and I actually drove it around for a little bit. I've been in the shop for 2 days just tidying up the little stuff. New car blues, you will have them, I promise. Just little stuff in the back was bothering me, and so we just fixed it all. So let's just do a walk around. So I got this car up in New York off a good family friends of ours, the Booth. Jake Booth had it sitting in a climate control deal for a few years, and he just never got to it, and he knows how New York winters are and what the salt up there will do to the cars. The car is originally out of Florida. It has 66,000 rigid miles on it. The interior is missing one or two pieces just because we haven't finalized everything. But we did keep the split bench, 60/40 bench. Put the old M&M shifter. There's a mount between the seats down there. Cable, all that stuff goes down between the seats. The dash piece is what I was talking about was missing. I do have it. If you know these cars, you know these things are very rare, this piece right here. And they're normally broke or cut holes in it for gauges, but the one I have is pretty mint. So once we get the mount for my O2 Nanos, we'll put that piece back in. But no holes in the seat. We kept the back seat. It is mini tubbed. Yes, we will fix that soon. It will get a darker tint, all redone. Cage is tucked up in nicely. It's way up in there. The only thing I don't like is no sun visors, but we'll adjust to that. We'll wear sunglasses. We went down through the dash. All the ductwork for the AC, heat, everything's still in there. Everything's still functional. Called Rick Ball and the guys down at RC Comp. Of course, we got the Hammer S's. RC knows that that's kind of like my wheel. All my cars have those on there. Trunk light still works. Mini tub did a great job, and it's got a 12-inch rim up under it right now. Put full spectrum batteries. Those guys are amazing, and no, they don't pay me to say this, but I just recently come on board with full spectrum, and let me tell you, these things are phenomenal. Me and Keith and the guys down at KC's, we thought the alternator wasn't charging, but because it just stayed at 13.2. You turn the headlights on, it stays at 13.2. Well, the battery, as you see, says that, and that's what it does. It just stays at 13.2. We turned all the headlights on and had fuel tech and had fuel pump going and had all that stuff going, and it still stayed 13.2. And fuel gauge. That's probably the only thing that I don't like is the fuel cell. But for the suspension we did up underneath, I never liked the spare tire well on these things. They hung down so low, so we got rid of that. And I just thought it'd be cool to put it in here versus letting it hang down, the factory one. Plus this is a little bit bigger. I'm getting old and hate crawling over bars, so we'll put the swing out kits in there. All the power still works. All the gauges still work. Right down to the gas gauge. And fuel tech. We went with the FT600. The guys at Fuel Tech pinned the LS harness, a 550 harness to a 600 for me. Just because that's what I run. I'm familiar with the 600s. The S10 has it. Both my race cars have it. Now this has it. Like, I'm really familiar with them, so. And it is, it's beat up, it's patinaed. The Florida sun took a beating on it. Just don't know if we're gonna paint it or not. Hood light, because everybody needs one. All the AC, compressor, AC lines. Keith had all the lines, or actually Keith made the lines. Old breather tank. It's a Thompson Motorsport 388. Dart block, 6-bolt Frankenstein heads, Holley intake, throttle body. It's their fuel rails, Fuel Tech injectors. Of course, Fuel Tech runs it. And what's the last time somebody's seen one of those? If you don't know because you're too young, that was the factory cruise control back in '87. Works off a vacuum. Pulls on that cable. And yes, it is functional. And of course, ta-da, ProCharger, baby. It's an F1X, and this is ProCharger's new kit. Quick little review of these. So, you have an LS motor. You want just an alternator. So they have just the alternator and the bracket for the alternator. So 6 months down the road, you want to add power steering. Well, there's a bracket and the pump for power steering. Another 3 months down the road, you want to add AC. Well, there's a bracket, AC compressor. And then another, I'll give it 1 or 2 days, you want to add that unit. Well, that's a bracket and a ProCharger. Like, their new system is set up to do exactly that. You can have an alternator and AC, no power steering, and no ProCharger. Or you can have an alternator with power steering and a ProCharger, and without the AC. However you want to configure it, their new system is amazing and will do just that. Whatever you want or don't want, this is what that system's made for. And you can thank me and Keith for G-Body ProCharger bracket. The one they sent to begin with hit the QA1 control arms. The second one they sent hit the valve cover. So Keith made a template, said, hey, this is what needs to happen. This is where it needs to be placed. And they sent it back to ProCharger. They made the bracket. So this thing will bolt on any G-body. It'll clear the suspension and it'll clear the valve cover. Holley intake, Holley MSD coils. They're the smart coils, the good ones. All the AC, heater, everything works on this deal. I don't have power steering on it. I went with a rack and pinion. I'm going to lift it up in the air and we'll show you that. Intercooler. We did the air-to-air intercooler. These Monte Carlos got a lot of room from here to the front. Keith modified it and fabricated it to where the air-to-air sits right up front and gets air crammed through it, through the opening in the grill. Very smart. Let's lift it up and look at the goodies. Let's just start up front, work our way to the back. Tranny cooler, built-in fan. There's the air-to-air I was telling you about. Gets fed through that hole. That cool thing that makes them awesome noises. QA1. I called the guys over at Dave and all the guys at QA1, told them what we were building. They sent me their arms, uppers, their lowers, and their new Pro Mod series shocks. They have the external canister on them. They are valved for street use, so don't let the word Pro Mod get you all excited there. I'll show you the back ones, the valving on the back ones. What with Will Woods for stopping. Everything is wired for speed sensor. Dumb stuff like that I still got to do and still got to get. 2-inch lowering spindles to keep it down in the front. And the rack and pinion that we did. Actually, Clayton did this one. And cut that big heavy section out of the center of the Monte Carlos. Got rid of that, got rid of the heavy steering box. Went with rack and pinion. ProCharger gonna get dirty in the rain. Dart block, 6-bolt heads, Moroso. Those guys have been with me for a long time. Stainless works, stainless headers, long tube headers. Here's some more cool stuff. I went with a 400. It's only got 2 speeds in it instead of 3. So, and Rodney and the guys at RPM Transmissions, Rodney's been with me since day one. He's built the transmissions in about every race car I've got. So I got with him, talked with him about gear ratios and why, what intentions I had for this car for filming and what would work best. So it's a 2-speed 400. A stock case, ultra bell, good pan, and then I wanted to drive this thing. And that was the main things. Like the S10, I built that thing 7 or 8 years ago. That truck's been around a long time and I've put many miles on it. I drive it a lot and I drive it all over hell. I didn't want nothing different for this car. Like, I want to be able to jump in this thing and drive it. The goal is me and Sean and a few of the guys are going to do the Route 66 drive. We'll probably trailer them to Chicago, send people back home with the trailers, and we're just going to take off down 66 and drive it all the way to the end. So, do I think you can do it with a 2-speed 400? Absolutely. You may not be able to do fast speeds or highway speeds. So, I called the guys over at Gear Vendors, got with him, and that's what we have. We put a gear vendor in it. So that's my overdrive. And Keith put a old style dimmer switch on the floor, because these, the dimmer switch was on the turn signals. So, and we kept all that because everything works. Turn signals work, headlights work, everything works. So we had to keep that. And then, so Keith got an old dimmer switch out of like an old 70 model pickup and put it down there on the floor, and that's it. Like, when you're cruising down the road, you just reach down and click that dimmer switch, the gear vendor takes over, and it's overdrive. And right now with the rear gear that's in it, it runs about 2300 RPM down the highway, so it's perfect. And we got a dump valve for old crappy roads in case we have to race on those. Keith did the full stainless steel exhaust. Stainless works, and then Keith built this X-pipe all the way back to the Borla mufflers, and then they go up over the rear end and dump out the back. And yes, everybody needs a Willys carbon fiber drive shaft, because streetcar. Back here, we got all the cool stuff too. QA1, here's their Pro Mod series. So these little dials and these little screws can get changed out. So I could actually pull these off this car, call David and them, say, hey, I'm gonna put them on my race car and run 3s with them, and they would send me these little valves. These little dials, which are valved differently for a Pro Mod or a fast car. So these things are friggin' awesome. Like, it's 100 shocks in one, basically. Yes, Quick Performance 9-inch. You know, they've been with us since day one. They built a lot of rear ends for me. They still do my center sections, and they did I got with them with this thing and said, hey, I need a rear end for it, 2 inches shorter than stock, because I'm putting a big old 12-inch wide wheel on it. So at the time, Aaron was up there, and Aaron and the boys got with it. Aluminum third member, top secret gear. And then we have all the adjustability back here. Hopefully you can see. I got with Dave and the guys over at Team Z. This is their upper. It's got all the adjustability. It's so cool. I was actually out here this morning getting I got with Dave, said, hey, this is the intentions with the car. What kind of bar angles do we need? What instant center? And this makes it super easy. This whole thing, it's slotted, it moves up and down. It all locks into place. So we have endless adjustability there. And if we didn't have mufflers, you could really see the adjustability on the lower torque boxes. There's like 6 holes up through there. It's just hard to tell. We have all the adjustability, all the cool stuff. Tailpipe all the way out the back. And our roll bar. And we went with fuel lap. That's their big pump. It's a variable speed, works off of Fuel Tech, a pre and a post filter on it. Really cool. Quiet when it at idle, it's really quiet. I think I set out for a goal and I think we nailed it. Like, I feel like I can cruise this thing everywhere or anywhere. Not sure what I'm going to do for paint. May just leave it like that. Leave the old chrome on there. What y'all think? What you think we should do? I like it though. Super excited about this thing. About as excited as I was with the S10. Hopefully this thing pans out and it's around as long as the S10 has been and will be. I have no intentions of getting rid of that thing anytime soon. And I'm here by myself a lot. That's what that pin is for. I'll hook on the smart car and push it where I need it. There it is, 87 Monte Carlo, 66,000 original mile car, and I screwed it up, I think. Actually, I probably made it better. Well, there you go. There is my walk around. This is a new car. I will be using it on the 405 show. I'm not going to retire the S10 by no means, but the thing is fast. It needed a cage, and I can't bring myself to put a cage in it. So this would have been my second pick anyways. I ran across this thing, picked it up right, built it right, and I think I built it to satisfy what I'm going to do with it, and that's beat the shit out of it and be able to drive it all over hell. So next stop is probably a dyno, and then we'll get some track time on it, and I'm sure we'll be videoing it and putting it out there for you.